interesting moment with my wife today that I thought was a couple interesting moments, actually, as I think about it this morning, that I thought were illustrative of the benefits of trying to be thoughtful and kind of questioning and introspective, the challenges of doing it, and also maybe some validation that maybe I'm on the right track. Nowhere near where I want to be, as none of us are, but on the right track. So two things happened with my wife this morning. So I'll set the context very briefly in that this morning was a bit of a hectic morning because she has treatments that she goes for in the city, which is like an hour and a half ride, and it's early. At the same time, my son has to get ready for school in the morning to kind of get him on the bus, and then at the same time, there's work going on. So the mornings on a day like this tend to be a bit hectic. So it was in that vein. So as we were getting ready this morning and kind of going through all this and moving and doing stuff, at one point I was, I think, going to the bathroom or going to the bathroom to get ready, and she was kind of near the door of the bathroom, and I tripped over something. And as I tripped, I kind of fell onto her. And she startles pretty easily, and when things like that happen that she's not expecting, she reacts strongly typically. So she kind of yelled. And my initial reaction and kind of where I went first was obviously to try and stop myself from falling and help her. But as it was happening, there was a degree of, like, if I'm being just like anger and frustration and annoyance that I was falling and that I was falling on her and then that she was yelling. And my immediate response, as it's been before in situations like that, is like, hey, I'm not doing it on purpose. Like, you're yelling as if I'm trying. I slipped, like I fell. And again, she's in the heat of the moment at the same time, so she's kind of yelling back at me like, well, you fell on top of me, like that's why I'm yelling. And I couldn't help but notice that typically my response would have been to go back at her again and to feel the need to kind of release my frustration and anger and direct it at somebody, to be annoyed at her for either how she handled me falling on her, or how she handled me questioning her handling falling on her, or even the thing I tripped over, like being annoyed at that. And just finding something to be like, I just felt embarrassed and frustrated, and I don't like it, so I need to take it out on something. But I didn't. I was able to kind of, as I've talked about before, have that moment of pause and recognize, like, and I almost literally did a look around. Like, I looked at my wife, I looked at the thing I tripped over, I looked at the bathroom I was meant to go towards, and kind of did a quick analysis and realized, like, there's nothing to blame here. It was just an accident that happened, and move on from that. And I did. I just kind of was like, okay. And I went into the bathroom and did what I had to do, and we moved on with our lives. I can't tell you how many days that would have turned into a huge argument because I would have been angry and started yelling, and then her reaction and back and forth. And again, to the point of the challenge of it, it was so instinctual and such an easy gut reaction for me to find something to be angry at, because I did not like that feeling. But I didn't. So I did good there. Fast forward a bit, we're in the car, in the city going through her treatment. And I was listening to a podcast. We were both listening to a podcast. But I was particularly into it and listening to it. And as we were doing that, she asked if I could pause it for a second, because she got a text from somebody and there was a video that she wanted to watch. And it was one of those, like, not a TikTok video, but kind of like a little cartoony, kind of silly video that she likes. I think it was about cats. So I was like, yep, okay. So I hit the pause button and she's watching the video. And as she's watching the video, I felt myself getting annoyed. I felt myself getting frustrated and starting to create this narrative in my head of, like, how long is this goddamn video? Does she really need to watch it now? Why is she being so rude? Like, I was in the middle of a podcast. There's like 6 minutes left. And felt that kind of building up, that frustration and that annoyance. And I think at one point she went to a second video and kind of kept it going. So it was going on for a few minutes, and that narrative was growing. And I started to show that a little bit. I don't think she caught it as much, but like I wasn't doing a good job of hiding it or managing it. But in the spirit of being thoughtful and introspective and taking that pause and actually trying to get clarity on the situation, even when that means being honest with ourselves in a way that doesn't feel good in the moment. Just like when I tripped over that thing and it would have felt better in the moment to get frustrated and lash out. In this moment, it would have felt better to be like, hey, turn that shit off. I'm listening to a podcast. But I thought about it and I stopped. And I thought, And because I think about this stuff so much, it wasn't hard for me to call upon this and get to this point. Why am I listening to the podcast? Well, I like listening to these podcasts as well as reading and doing the other stuff I do because I think it makes me a better person. I think it gives me better perspective. I think it helps me to learn more about myself and overcome things that I struggle with and all that type of stuff and be more thoughtfully authentic as I like to be, et cetera, et cetera. Well, why do I want to be that stuff? Well, I want to be a better person because I want to be a better person for the people around me and help them more. And one of those people, you know, my family, my son, my wife. I want to be a better husband. I want to be able to treat her better and do right by her. And that thread led to the obvious connection of like, well, this video is making her happy. It's bringing her some pleasure. She enjoys watching it. And it's a few minutes out of my life in which I'll just put my podcast back on after. And once that reality and that logic is put forth in front of me, it's almost impossible then for me to be angry and for me to be like, hey, turn that shit off. Because the reason I want to get back to my podcast is so that I can learn more, become better, and treat her better. But we could just cut out the middleman here and cut right to it, and I can just treat her better right now and not get annoyed at the fact she wants to watch a video that she enjoys for a few minutes. Now, I'll say, like, that logic is to me rock solid. Like, the math is clear. Even still, I felt myself like biting my lip and rubbing my face a little bit as the video went on. So it didn't just turn off instantly. It's not like you realize that and all of a sudden magically your subconscious or whatever it is turns off and is like, okay, this is easy now. It was still hard, but my ability to overcome it was there because I had the logic. I had the math. It checked out that this was the right thing to do. So when I make videos like this, I often hesitate because the last thing I want to do is sound like, look at me, like I'm pretty fucking amazing. Oh, look at what I've figured out. Because I haven't figured out anything that's never been figured out before. And I'm not even that good at it. A lot of people could look at a video like this and be like, hey, asshole, maybe don't get annoyed at your wife to begin with about wanting to watch a video for a few minutes. Totally agree. That's not the point. The point isn't to pat myself on the back. I don't think. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is. The point is, one, I just think it's interesting and useful to kind of lay it out. But two, my hope is that it kind of resonates with people that there is something to this and we could all maybe be better off in our own ways, right? It doesn't mean you follow the exact blueprint I do. It doesn't mean I have it exactly right by any means. But maybe my faults, my fuck-ups, my working through this, showing my work through that helps people in some way. Or at the least, maybe it just continues to help me and keep me accountable and thoughtful about it. Either way, thought it was worth sharing.